Arundel County Police Accountability Board to order. My name is Jeanette Ortiz. I'm chair of the PAB. First item on the agenda is approval of the September meeting minutes. The audio recording of the September meeting of the PAB will serve as the minutes for that meeting. That was all shared with members and also will be available on our website. At the September meeting, we received the quarterly updates from the 5 law enforcement agencies. We also received updates from the Office of Police Accountability and discussed briefly the annual report. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the September meeting of the board? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The September PAB meeting minutes are unanimously approved. All right, next we will go to public comment. A few friendly reminders before we get started. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to provide public comment. A speaker representing an organization shall have 5 minutes to provide public comment. A timer will be used to keep time. Once the buzzer sounds, please wrap up your comments. Any remaining time may not be allocated to another speaker. We ask that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences watching the meeting. The board cannot and will not discuss any specific cases. It is also not the practice of the board to engage in back and forth with speakers. So we didn't have anyone signed up in advance. Is there anyone?
There's nobody in the attendee room.
Okay, so as we normally do, if there is someone that shows up later in the meeting and would like to provide public comment, we will certainly accept it. All right. Next on the agenda, hopefully I have the order right because I've had a habit of messing up the order lately. Sorry. Office of Police Accountability, our Executive Director, Moya Panda.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to let you know that the ACC had a meeting yesterday. They had 3 cases that they had to review. Their next schedule for a meeting, I believe, December 1st, and we're kind of winding down for the holiday season as well. So they may have 1 or 2 more meetings before the end of the year, and then we'll regroup again in January. Jen did reach out to the law enforcement agencies to let them know of the schedule for the ACC members. As you all know, they have a lot of cases to review, a lot of material, and they have full-time jobs as well. So we try to make it a little bit easier for them towards the end of the year. So I'll definitely keep you posted with their schedule at the end of the year. Since the last meeting, I went to the NACO conference, which is the National Association of Civilian Oversight for Law Enforcement Agencies. And that was held in Minneapolis. I just wanted to give you a brief update as what happened. It was the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's death. So they talked about that, obviously being in that same city. We also heard from the mother of Philando Castile, who also died as well. So that was eye-opening to get the reaction from the impacted families. We did hear from police chiefs from around the country, as well as other professionals in the space and volunteer board members as well. I did see Prince George's County and Baltimore City represented along with myself from Anne Arundel County. So it was definitely a great program. Year over year, it gets better and better. So I'm happy to report that, what we're doing in Anne Arundel County is going really well. And some of the challenges we see around the state, we do see the same challenges across the country as well. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then tomorrow, our office is hosting prosecutors from Romania and the Republic of Moldova in our office. They're interested in learning about how we work with law enforcement agencies, how we work with county government to better policing and bring about transparency and police accountability work. I did send an email to you all. So if any of you are interested in attending, I think they probably want to hear from you guys more than they want to hear from me. But if you have a time to stop in, just let me know. If you do, it's going to be at our office at 44 Calvert Street. Don't forget to bring an ID because you do have to go through security. And then, to let us know when you're at the office. All right, and that completes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Miss Panda? All right, great. Thank you. Next, we're really excited to welcome Lieutenant Brand with the Anne Arundel County Police Department's Special Operations Division and Traffic Safety Commander. She is going to give us an overview of the police department's drone program. I think we heard about it in a previous meeting. We had a few board members express an interest in learning more. And so Lieutenant Brandt was invited to share more about the program. So welcome and thank you so much for being here this evening.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for having me. So my previous assignment, I was in staff inspection. So some faces are familiar, having come out of the Office of Professional Standards. So nice to see a few faces that I've seen before again. So thank you so much for having me. The drone program for me is super exciting. I wasn't involved in drones at all before I transferred into traffic safety. So backstory for drones, traffic safety has been using them for years to do fatal and serious crash reconstruction because the cameras are so good. We can actually get a 3D rendering of the crash. You get a nice bird's eye view. If you've ever seen gouge marks, yaw marks, things from crashes where the tires dig into the concrete, the cars flip over, you get all those marks on the roadway. So we'll get a bird's eye view, take a lot of pictures. They take anywhere from 200 to 500 pictures, depending on the size of a crash scene. Then they input that into a system, and they'll develop a model of the crash scene that's much more comprehensive than just those, two-dimensional pictures that you're getting in a report. So I'll give you I have a presentation. If I can I share my screen? I don't know if I'm
Yeah, you
set
should
up
be
for
able
that.
to.
Okay, so I'll do that real quick. There's a quick video at the end because we're expanding. We've got a couple different areas of drones at this point that we're experimenting with. We're piloting different options to test what's best for our county, our topography, our community, our police department, what it is that we're responding to. I'm sure you've seen drones in the media. Philadelphia has them. Chula Vista PD in California has them. Montgomery County has them. Baltimore County just signed a contract. So it is the up and coming technology, and we're super excited about it. We just need to figure out what our best fit is. So I'll give you this quick overview. I have somebody lined up to do a live demo. So we'll stream that for you so that you can see what it would look like from the field if something were to happen right now. He's not on a call for service. He's just kind of hanging out waiting to do this demo. And then I'll answer some questions. Does that work? Okay, great. All right, let me share. All right, is that showing up for everybody? Perfect. All right, so as I said, we are in the pilot phase of a lot of different areas. Let's see if we can get this. Yep. All right. The vision is to leverage the technology to help operational efficiency. Imagine going to a major scene and having a drone on site before the officers get there, and you know where the suspect car is fleeing to. You know where your victim is. You know how to get the fire department in. You know what resources are needed. They're calling saying that somebody has a weapon, and you're able to zoom in and say, no, actually, that's not a weapon. That's a cell phone. Or that is a weapon. This is what it is, and this is where they threw it. And being able to leverage that technology. So we want to leverage this drone technology to make the community and our officers safer in a much more efficient manner. So these pictures are actually from National Night Out, and the officer in the upper right-hand corner is Corporal Hulkenberg. He's the one that's going to do the demo for us tonight. He was one of the early adopters in patrol. And then the lower picture is Detective Slayton. He's one of our crash investigators. So he is demoing at Eastern District Kinder Park at National Night Out, and Corporal Hulkenberg is in our Southern District. So we started with a patrol-led drone program. That's what Corporal Hulkenberg does. That was an expansion from our tactical operations. TAC Ops and investigations is what traffic safety does. And then patrol drone program is the officers in patrol. We have 10 drones that have been issued out to different patrol officers across the department, different shifts, trying to make sure that we have coverage with at least 1 or 2 drones at any given time across the county. Now, it may be that there's one in Northern District up in Brooklyn and there's one in Edgewater, but there should be 2 drones working most of the time, as long as those officers aren't on vacation or off for training. The next one after the patrol lead is DFR, which is drone as first responder. Those are the ones where you hear about. It's a dock-based system and it's remotely launched by, it would be in our Arctic. I think, have you guys had a presentation on our real-time information center? That is phenomenal. If you guys ever want to set up a tour, we could set up a tour in the real-time information center. It is amazing. And it is, so the DFR technology and our patrol drones they stream into the Arctic Center. So we have detectives and an analyst, civilian analysts that are in there helping leverage that technology. And if they see a vehicle and they go, okay, license plate 123 ABC, and they'll run that tag and they'll try to help collaborate. It's kind of like TV. It is the closest thing in police work that I've seen to what happens on TV. It is amazing. They do a wonderful job. The detectives and the analysts that we have in there are phenomenal. They really come together as a team. But part of our vision with this, we needed the community transparency piece. And I know that's big with you guys also, but it was huge for us. We have a dashboard already that puts out our drone flights. So I'll pull that up for you. Also, I have it ready. But making sure that the community knew that we were doing this. So we were pushing out information to the community through our PIO's office saying, hey, this is coming. We demonstrated that at National Night Out, allowing people to ask questions, because what we don't want is for people to think that we're spying on them. That's not what this is. This is not persistent surveillance without cause. This is somebody called in to 911 and they said, hey, there's an active crime in progress. You know, somebody is breaking into this business. Somebody just robbed my neighbor. Somebody assaulted me on the B&A trail, whatever that case is. That's what we're leveraging this for. Now we are using them for crash investigations. We are using them for overwatch, for search warrants, but we've already got a search warrant. So in that instance, we're allowed to be in that space. This is just for officer safety, things like that. We want to make sure that we have a good overview. So we grew this program, and I've kind of talked a little out of turn on some of these slides because, like I said, I'm very excited about this program. So I've given you some of this. Our goal is to expand the drone so that there is 1 drone on every shift, instead of districts having to share them and send somebody from Laurel down to Edgewater to fly the drone, because that immediate response is key for this technology. So the goal is to be able to have each district and each platoon have 1 working at any time. So there'd be 4 across the county. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. This is another one of our crash detectives getting ready to fly for, actually, I think he was just doing that for a demo for us so we could take a picture, but that's one of our crash detectives. So our deployment plan, we already talked about. Pilot training, it's another big thing. So every one of the pilots that flies for Anne Arundel County has an FAA license. It's called a Part 107 for commercial flights because they are flying these drones for work purposes. In addition to that, they take a 4-day course with our drone program manager, who currently is Corporal Wilson. And he does 4 days. They do implementation. They talk about the policies. They talk about what we're using them for, what you can, what you can't use them for. If you couldn't go there as an officer, we're not sending a drone in. We use them in advances. So if, let's say, and we're talking about working with the fire department, because what if there's a hazmat and you can't send somebody in safely? I can send a drone in. I'd much rather sacrifice a piece of equipment than a person and be able to go in and test that. So we are looking to expand this with our fire department partners, because they are very interested in this technology to leverage it so they can keep their firefighters safer and we can get a more appropriate response to the public. So we are actually we just started a class this week. So class started this morning for 8 drone pilots. They all had their 107 and they'll be in this class for the week. They do thermal image training at Kinder Park. They will go and see what the difference is between flying during the day and flying at night. And they do skills assessment courses to make sure that they have good control over the drones. They're using them carefully and understanding how that technology works so that they can use it in the best way for us. We talked about live streaming. So this live streaming streams into the Arctic, and it also streams into an app. So the supervisors that are watching these scenes are able to pull up that stream on their phone, like you can see right there, and they know where their officers are. They can see where they need to send resources. They can say, okay, I need to send a car around the south corner, somebody go to the west side. I need to shut this roadway off. I can see them moving in this direction. We've used this to help other agencies search for critically missing persons. We send officers and our drones over to Centerville to look for a patient with dementia who had been lost. We have found missing suicidals. We have found suspects for different crimes. We've assisted DNR. We've assisted the fire department. So we are really doing a lot to try to leverage this technology for the county, not just for special operations. So as I said, we already developed a website. We have our published flight maps out there. There is a 30-day delay. So if you see a drone today, you won't see that flight for 30 days. And the reason for that is sometimes those drones are being used during tactical operations. Those cases are still open. So we need to give the detectives time to make sure that that doesn't end up public information while that case is still open. So it gives them time to go in, check their flight logs, and make sure that that isn't published until that investigation is closed. So long-term goal is to get into this, the DFR. That drone right there came out of the dock. So that bottom picture is a drone that comes out of a dock. It charges in that dock. And the picture that you see above that is just a plotted area. The drones have, for the DFR that we're testing, have a 3.5-mile radius. Some of the drones have a 2-mile radius. So that's just demonstrating what calls, if we had had a drone, what calls that drone would have been able to respond to from the location where we were looking for the dock. So we're still building out our fleet. We're still looking at our DFR solutions. We're looking to test one starting early or late winter 2025, early winter 2026. So we are trying to get that done. It'll be a testing with 2 dock locations. And that's a picture in the lower right-hand corner. That is our real-time information center during the DFR trial that we did. So allowing the benefits of DFR, the drones can get there within 86 seconds. Imagine a drone being able to fly at 200-300 feet over top of all your buildings, not having to worry about navigating roadways because they don't have to. So they can get there much faster. It gives you that bird's eye view a lot faster. There are instances, we did a DFR trial, we were able to clear out a call for service because it was a call for something blocking the roadway. And normally we dispatch 2 officers to most calls. Well, we can clear up that call for service because we can send the drone out there and say, there's not something out in the roadway. You can go ahead and clear this out radio. That doesn't require police response, freeing up those officers to go to a different call for service. So reducing response times, being able to locate people that if it takes you 2-3 minutes to get there versus 60 to 90 seconds, you'll be able to find those people much faster and track them.
On August 28th,
can you
the
hear
Arundel
this?
County Police Real-Time Information Center participated in a drone as first responder demo. The DJI Matrice 350 RTK drone was staged and deployed from the roof of the OEM parking garage in Glen Burnie. The drone was controlled from the Real-Time Information Center, while detectives and staff monitored the live video feed. The DFR demo was conducted for a total of 8 hours, and in that time responded to assist with 16 total calls for service. In this video, we will show you just a few examples of the capabilities displayed during the DFR fly day. In this example, the drone was deployed to conduct overwatch during a traffic stop. The pilot quickly located the traffic stop, and the Real-Time Information Center monitored the live video feed. Here you can see the power of the camera's 400 times zoom, which allowed the Arctic to view into the vehicle and monitor the actions of the driver during the stop. The drone is also equipped with a 32 times zoom thermal camera. During the traffic stop, the Arctic provided a link to the live video feed directly to the officer on scene's cell phone, allowing real-time monitoring of the subject, a profound step towards increasing officer safety. The high-definition zoom camera is able to clearly read vehicle registration plates from hundreds of feet away and is equipped with flock ALPR capabilities. In this example, officers received an LPR hit for a stolen vehicle traveling on Ritchie Highway. The drone was swiftly deployed, providing a critical aerial advantage by arriving at the scene well ahead of patrol units on the ground. Once the stolen vehicle was located, Arctic staff immediately began feeding its precise location and movements to responding patrol officers. The drone followed and maintained continuous surveillance, ultimately observing the stolen vehicle come to a halt at a local car dealership. In this case, the drone provided Arctic staff with an unparalleled aerial advantage, giving them the ability to guide officers in real time. The result was a fast, safe, and efficient recovery of the stolen vehicle, minimizing risk and maximizing success. When a shoplifting call came in after dark, the drone was immediately deployed, arriving on scene almost 2 minutes before the first patrol car. This example showcases how the drone equipped with both color night vision and thermal capabilities give operators an undeniable advantage after sundown. Thermal imaging reveals heat signatures hidden by shadows and distance, while color night vision provides the crucial visual details needed for identification. This combination ensures nothing is missed no matter the time of day. During our DFR fly day, the drone demonstrated its ability to be the first eyes on scene, providing a vital aerial perspective and delivering real-time information to officers still en route. This critical intelligence, including suspect details and movement patterns, significantly enhances response planning and officer safety. In some cases, the drone was used to provide overwatch for solo officers, bridging the dangerous gap until backup arrives. Overall, the DFR program demonstrated its ability to ensure faster, safer, and smarter responses and apprehensions.
All right, I am going to have somebody pull up their drone, and then I'll just show you. This is air data. So if I log into it, this is, can you still see this screen? Okay, so this is what the supervisors would see. You can get this on the cell phones. This allows for us to share between platoons, share between Overwatch commanders, and that way they can see what it is that's going on. So Corporal Hulkenberg is going to pull up his drone in just a second, and we'll be able to pull it up here. Imagine if both Corporal Hulkenberg and Corporal Restaino had incidents that were going on and they were responding to the same call from different sides. I would be able to see them in the multi-view player and get a full picture of that scene from both sides, from different angles, which really helps police response and allows for safety. This helps us know what roadways to shut down so that we can ensure that nobody is coming through causing a public safety threat where they would be coming into an area that may not be safe for the general public to come in while we're trying to secure it. While I am waiting for him to put his drone up, I'll just pull up our website real quick. So on the Anne Arundel County Police Department website under Special Operations, we have a drone program website. Gives you just a little bit of information here. This is a video that our media relations office put out. And if you scroll down, we haven't pushed out any annual reports, but expect those in the first quarter of next year. And then this is our drone related activity dashboard. So you can see flights all the way back to October 19th. And it'll tell you this was a crash investigation. That was a stolen recovered auto. I can zoom in a little bit if that's a little easier. So it gives you just a little bit of information on here, telling you what it was that we were doing in the area. It gives you the flight path, so you'll see exactly where that drone was. It gives you the case number for the active calls for service. These crash investigations are open, so they're not something that we would expect an MPIA for. But if you were looking for that, theft or stolen vehicle, the case number's there. So if anybody that's looking for an MPIA information, they'd be able to use this information to focus their requests. Because we wanted to make it as easy as possible so that if people had questions about, hey, I saw a drone, what's it up for? This just makes it a little bit easier. We are also pushing up if they're doing test flights. So here is this information. Here's a test flight. That's officers while they're working. That's one of our midnight officers. So if they're working and they don't have anything going on, they're working on their skills. They're checking their drones to make sure that the equipment is functioning. They're really trying to keep up on all of that so that when that call comes out and it's critical, they're ready to go. Let's see. All right, so he is up. So Corporal Hulkenberg has an Autel drone. We're testing out Autels, DJIs, and Skydio X10s. So this Autel, he's doing vehicle tracking. So you can see with the ambient lighting, he's got pretty good, even though it's dark out, he's got some pretty good lighting. So it went behind that building, but then it jumped over and picked the vehicle right back up. So this is really helpful. This helps us bridge the gap until aviation can get there. Drones are not a replacement for our aviation unit. They do a lot of things. They can be up in the air between 2 and 3 hours, which is much better for those protracted events. So this is really bridging that gap because it takes time for our aviation unit to be able to get out of the hangar, get up in the air, and get on scene. If we can get our drones up like this, while that feed is up, we can then connect that aviation feed, put our drones back down, and then the aviation unit can take over. So this is really working nicely hand in hand with our aviation. You can see it's picking up cars. It'll also pick up people. And for like the car club rallies, if you've seen those street takeovers in the news where they take over different sections of the street and there's people out and they're doing donuts and setting off fireworks and things like that, we're really looking to leverage these drones for those events because as you can imagine, they're dangerous to get in close, but we can put our drones up and be able to see what it is that's going on to be able to coordinate responses. It'll tell us approximately how many vehicles. It'll tell us approximately how many people. It's not an exact science. Sometimes it will count your mailbox as a person. So just keep that in mind. It's not perfect, but it gives us a general idea, which is helpful. So he's over at the Annapolis Mall. And you can see, oh, there you go. He just switched it over to thermal for you. So he's on white hot. I'm sorry, black hot. So you can see where the people are. And now he switched it over to white hot. So there's different settings for the thermal so that you can switch back and forth. It'll help you pick up different things depending on what kind of a background you're working with. So imagine if we were just looking for a person, missing children. We use this for missing people on a regular basis. A lot of humanitarian search efforts we're using our drones for those. All right. Before he puts the drone down, does anybody have any questions? That way I'll cut him loose. He's working patrol tonight.
Do we have any member questions on what we're looking at now? I don't see anyone's hands up.
Just
All right.
pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
It is. It is. We're super excited about this. I think the value in the coordinated response and the safety, I think, is just absolutely astounding. If you had told me, so I've been with the police department now for 22 years. If you had told me 22 years ago that I would be doing this, I would not have believed you at all. When I started, I didn't even have a computer in my car. So we were still handwriting. We had pads of paper and whiteboards. You were fancy if you had a whiteboard. now we have
Color
drones.
coded.
Yes. Yes.
Colorful markers.
Yes, it was amazing. All right. So I'm gonna get out of that. We did our dashboard. Is there any other questions? I'm gonna close all that up.
I see Cedric's hand raised. Any
Okay.
other questions? Go ahead.
Hey, that was a really good presentation. That was first class.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's the only thing I could say is wow. When you talk about officer safety, um, enhanced response to community issues. I did have a question about any concerns pertaining to airspace deconfliction, yeah, but
Yep.
with other drones. Any concerns pertaining to that?
So on the air data, so you're talking specifically with other drones. Do you mean our police department drones or do you mean public drones?
Public drones, just just the general public. I guess they have access to use drones. How do you deconflict that airspace and everybody play well in the sky, so to speak?
So to fly a drone, if you don't have aerial mitigation, and with our DFR program that we would be testing out later this winter, that would have a radar. And the radar that would come with that will tell you if there's a bird in the air, if there's an airplane in the air, if there's another drone in the air, and it'll show you where it is on the map so that the pilots are able to fly the drone around it, up above, and it'll tell you the height and things like that. If you don't have that aerial mitigation, you have to have your drone within eyesight. So I have to be able to see my drone. Now, that doesn't mean that it can only be 50 feet away from me. I can stand outside of the Special Operations Division, put a drone in the air, fly it across 97 and down to headquarters, and I can see the front grass of our police headquarters and still see the drone, especially at night when the lights are on. So you just need to be able to keep the drone in sight. So obviously there are safety issues. So if we've got a pilot who is focused on their controller in their hands, they need to have somebody with them to help them keep eyes on their drone, or help them keep eyes on their screen and to keep eyes on the scene around them. So there are things that they have to keep in mind, but they do have to keep that drone in the line of sight, which is why that reason that you're talking about right there is exactly why, so that they don't run into a tree, so that they don't run into a building, so that they don't run into a power line or another drone or a bird. We've had birds that come after the drones. Imagine like an eagle or a hawk. They're predators. They're looking for those smaller things. They're going after the drones, or they feel threatened because they think another predator's coming into their territory. So we have had instances where the birds are going after the drones. So
Thank you. I see Moya's hand up.
Yes, thank you so much for that presentation. I think you mentioned that you had different drones that you were testing out, and I wanted to know what is the difference between the drones.
So they're all different manufacturers. We try to keep the features somewhat similar so that we're doing an apples to apples comparison. Because if I buy a really expensive drone with a great camera from one company and the less expensive, I don't want to buy a Bentley and pick a lesser car, right? That's not a fair comparison. So we are trying to match features, things that are important to us. We want to be able to have that thermal imaging. We want a good clear zoom because we want to be able to see, is it a cell phone or is it a weapon, right? So we need that good, clear image. Other things that we look at, what is the platform that the company uses? So if we pick a company, what is the platform that they would stream on? Will it talk to Fusus for our Arctic Center? Other things that we're looking at, what is the length of the battery life? Do they have a DFR program? If they have DFR, what's their aerial mitigation? So there are a lot of different things. Additionally, price. Price is a huge thing because you could have the best drone on the market, but if I can only fit into my budget to buy one of them, that's not really helping leverage that technology for my community. So I need something that is somewhat cost effective, allows us to spread that technology to every district on every platoon so that we can use this on all those calls for service in every community. So there's a lot of different things. Currently, we have 3 different primarily 2 drones in patrol and a third one that we test out occasionally from the Special Operations Division, our program manager. If he gets called to assist patrol, sometimes we'll take one of the DJI drones. Not all drones are weather rated. So the DJI drone that we have currently is not weather rated. So if it's raining, we can't take that one out. But the Autels and the Skydios that we're testing, but we have not solidified which platform, we have not solidified which drone. We have to look at all these different options and make sure that we're getting the best for the county.
And sorry, that leads me to my next question. Is there anything particular about in Arundel County, the topography or whatever, that's different from surrounding jurisdictions that is unique to Anne Arundel County?
Yes, we're huge and we're spread out. We have everything from clustered buildings, townhomes, and taller buildings up in Brooklyn to everything down in Davidsonville that's so spread out. So when we talk about a DFR program that can only go 3.5 miles, great in Brooklyn because you can see a lot of the community in Brooklyn in 3.5 miles. But in Davidsonville, you might get 6 houses. The other thing that we contend with is restricted airspace. So we have BWI,
Right.
and in the immediate vicinity of BWI, it's a no-fly zone. In the short vicinity, it's 50 feet. Then you get 100 feet. And if you can imagine, like it goes further out from there. So if we're flying in the Glen Burnie area or the Severn area and you get too close, then we have restricted flight, where our aviation unit has direct contact with air traffic control, and they can call them and say, hey, we're headed this way. Can we come through? And they may say, hold, for 3 minutes because we've got a flight coming in. Okay, now you're clear to go. The drones, we don't have that. So there are some of the key differences between our aviation unit that can fly for 2.5 hours and has that direct line to air traffic control, and our drones where everything is on an app on your phone. We're not calling air traffic control. We're requesting permission to fly through an app on the phone.
Thank you so much. You can tell that you're very excited about this, and I'm loving this presentation.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed I have learned a lot in the last 1.5 years that I've been there, and it has been a lot of fun.
I have a couple questions. The
Yeah.
2 to 3.5 mile radius, is that standard for the drones? Is that like a standard radius for drones?
Generally, so it's not that the drones can't fly further distance, it's that we need to leverage battery life and time on scene. So if they are faster, lighter drones, they can fly further faster, right? And so then it expands that radius, because what you want is to have, somewhere between 15 and 25, 30 minutes on scene and have enough battery life to get from that scene
Yeah.
back to the dock or back to the pilot so that it can be safely landed. Now we can land the drone anywhere. That's not ideal. We want it to come back to where it started. We want it to come back to the pilot or to the dock. But in an emergency, if it were to run out of battery or run into a bird and need to come down, we could land it and then we could go find it with GPS. That's just not ideal. So that limited radius has to do with how far will it fly and then how long will it let us be on scene. So we just don't want to overextend that. But it could fly forever, really, until the battery runs out. It'll go 7, 8 miles if you really needed it to, but you won't be able to get it back to the dock safely.
So different topics. So you talked about transparency and that's very important to the department. That's good to hear. That's an important issue for me, and I'm sure other board members as well. So, as it relates to like privacy rights, individual privacy rights, are there best practices? Like, what is the agency doing to ensure that you have the appropriate policies, protocols, procedures so that, it's not being misused, or, you are limiting the potential for misuse, and that we are not, blurring the lines between, individual privacy rights.
So we have a public policy. It is available online on the police department's website with all the rest of our index codes. So we have that. In addition to that, what we tell people, they're told in training, this is not persistent surveillance. This is not you're going to the third floor of a house and you're looking in people's windows when you don't have a search warrant. It's different. If I have a search warrant to go into that residence, then that is what I'm doing to make sure that I don't have somebody laying in wait to ambush our SWAT team. That's totally different. But if I don't have a search warrant for that residence, I'm not going to that third floor because as an officer, I can't see in that third floor window. So that's not something I'm allowed to do. If I couldn't go there as an officer, that's kind of your rule of thumb. If you don't know if you can go somewhere, if you're not allowed to go there as an officer, you're not going to send your drone because it's an extension of you. So that's the kind of the litmus test that we tell people. If you're not sure and you can't ask, that's your litmus test. Can I go here? Can I legally be here as an officer? Could I go stand where my drone is? And if you can't legally stand where your drone is, then your drone can't go there. So we do have policies. We also require quarterly training. So starting in the new year, because we've just gotten all our officers through this training. It started in June. We did a week-long class, June, July, August, September, October. We're in the November class. So starting in January in that first quarter, they will go through quarterly training. They've all done some additional online training for their fourth quarter training, but we will be doing quarterly training where they'll come in, review the policies, make sure that they have gone over all of that and there are no questions, but then they'll also do skills training. We are part of the Maryland Drone Group. So there's the departments across the state of Maryland that all have drone programs meet on a quarterly basis. We go to those meetings for best practices. We talk about different policies, talk about different things that have worked out, things that haven't worked. There was a symposium for 2 days that the Maryland State Police held back the end of September. We're talking about trying to host one for Anne Arundel County if we can coordinate get all of our ducks in a row before that time frame, so that we can bring all these agencies together to make sure that we are all on board with each other and all practicing in the same fashion, making sure that we're giving all the pilots across the state of Maryland similar training and we have similar policies. We actually took other agencies' policies and we looked at those when we were establishing our own policies so that we were not reinventing the wheel and making sure that we were lining up with the rest of the state.
You read my mind because that was going to be my follow-up question, coordination with the other agencies. So that's really good to hear. Thank you so much. I saw Moya's hand up again.
Last question, I promise. Has any of the operators been called in to testify at trial or at a motion?
That's a good question that I don't have an answer for. If they have, because I guess what we could do is ask them to tell us, but we've not asked them to say, hey, let me know if this happens. But it's a good question. Maybe we'll do that we'll put out something that just says, hey, if anybody's been called in for this, let us know so that we can put it, we can find out what it was about, how that case went. But I actually hadn't thought to ask that question. So thank you.
Might be good you said you'll be putting out reports in the future. So that might be a good kind of tracking measure to think about. I saw Cedric's hand and then to Lisa.
Yeah, just a quick question. The news story that I saw said this was a pilot program. So I'm presuming from what you're saying now, it's no longer a pilot program. It's moving toward full implementation. That's one question, just to confirm that. And also, the police commission that certifies training throughout the state, do they have any perspectives, any policies, practices, procedures, training in this particular area of emerging law enforcement?
So the first question was pilot versus not. So it is a pilot in the sense that we have not determined what platform, what drone. So it is a pilot, not in the sense of do we want to leverage the technology? It is a pilot in the sense of which version of the technology will we leverage? So that there have been some confusion when that media went out. If the understanding was we're deciding, do we want drones? We know we want drones. We just want to make sure that we pick the right drones and the right platform. And the second question is, as of right now, MPTC does not have a registered class for it. So part of the where we're going next year is trying to get them on board because we're going to present them with ours and see if we can just get them to adopt ours. We try to lead from the front.
Yes, we've heard that on lots of different occasions and our various trainings. So uh, good to know that we're being leaders on this issue as well.
Technically, isn't it always going to be a pilot program? I mean, it is aviation, just saying.
Yeah. Talisa, I saw your hand up.
You've talked a lot through the process and what you all have done to ensure that you're judicious in how you execute the deployment of the drones. My next question is, what is the quality control process at the end, so that you would be able, if the need arise, to be able to track the usage of the drones? And even though we train and tell them what you are supposed to do and what the codes of conduct are for that professional use, what are you all doing to ensure that there is an auditing mechanism, if need be, in support of the process and the policies?
Yep. So our program manager and his assistant will be conducting audits. They go through, so all of our flights they have to all be tracked. FAA says we have to track all of our flights. We have all the flight data. So that goes into our system. The only thing that happens is our program manager looks at them, but he will be doing quarterly audits. So he'll go in and check the flight. Sometimes he'll go in and check, all right, this has a case number listed. What was the case number? Is it really what they said it was? And when they fly, a lot of times it's in CAD. They'll say, all right, for Baker 1, I have a drone up. Or Arctic will come in and say, all right, we've sent somebody out, because they have officers that are capable of sending out a drone. So they'll say, all right, we're here, we're sending a drone out. And so you have that communication. We also require, if they put the drone up and there's no evidentiary value, so they say, all right, for example, there was a tampering with auto that was reported. Well, if they put their drone up and they don't find anything and that call is cleared out with no report, we still ask them to fill out a QR code. On all of the cases, we ask them to fill out it's basically a Google form, so that we have not only the flight data in our system, because the drone reports to the system. The drone will report that flight. They also report the QR code and tell us why they put their drone up. Was it for testing or training? Which I showed you one of the training flights that was on our dashboard. So even if they're putting it up for training, we're seeing that. And then we're saying, all right, where is it? What was the flight path? What's the height? And that way, if we get any questions from anybody, we can say, yep, we did have a drone. It was up in this area. And we can tell you who that pilot was and what they told us they were doing with it. But the program manager is also conducting audits. So recorded video is going into evidence.com. It's categorized and logged the same way that our body cameras are. So if they're recording things for evidentiary, for court purposes, it's all going into evidence.com. So you will be able to see those flights. And we've actually pulled a couple of them up in the office just to say, all right, who flew this week and what kind of things were they doing? So we periodically check those the same way that we audit the body camera system and staff inspections. We've been auditing the drone footage.
Thank you for that information. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Brian's hand up.
Just a quick question, since you brought up the body cameras. I noticed when we were out on a ride along last month that if one officer's camera's on and somebody else comes close on that call, their camera is going to be triggered as well. So you're getting video and audio from all locations. Is there any triggering from the drone that if it's doing something, will it trigger the officer's camera to also, so you'll get that multiple view, or is that something that maybe they're looking at in the future?
So the body cameras are triggered by Bluetooth signals. So if my camera is buffering, which means it's ready to record, and my lights on my car turn on, or somebody turns their taser on, or somebody removes their gun from their holster, these actions all have a Bluetooth signal that goes out and tells the camera something important happened, you need to record. But the drone, when it goes up, we tell them they should be recording that all the time. But there's no signal from the drone that goes to the body camera or from the body camera that goes to the drone. They're two different systems. But the body cameras, they were installed by the company with those signals attached to the tasers, the signal sidearm devices, and the vehicle lights, in addition to when the officer pushes the button on the front to turn them on.
Sure. Okay. Just thinking it was a nice enhancement if it was something that was, kind of a backup.
I bet if we suggested that to the company that has the body cameras, that will be something that they work on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for Lieutenant Brandt? All right, well, thank you so much. This was really interesting and eye-opening, and thank you for sharing the video and showing us live footage. We really appreciate you taking time to be here with us this evening.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. And thank you guys for all the work that you do. I know everybody's busy and leading into the holidays. So thank you for your time and sticking with our county. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You as well. Thank you so much. All right. Next on the agenda, new business. I don't have any new business. Does anybody else have any new business? No? Okay. All right. Next, we have old business, which is revisiting our annual report, which we've discussed at a couple of meetings. And so this is the meeting where we are reviewing it. Everyone should have gotten it last week before this meeting for a review. Thank you to those who provided feedback. Let me pull that up so that I can reference it in advance. Really appreciate it. So what we're going to do today is go over it. Hopefully you've had time to already review. Today is supposed to be the official vote to adopt the report minus the data points. As we've shared, the data doesn't get pulled in until all of the November data until the end of November, early December. So then at the December meeting, we'll do a second vote, which incorporates the various data sets that we include in the report, which is what we've done in years past. And then obviously, if there's anything that needs to be amended at that time, we can certainly look at that. So let's go ahead and go through the report. If there are any questions as I'm going through the sections, please let me know, jump in, and we will discuss. All right. So, and the report will not look like this. This is just a draft. Jen does an amazing job of formatting it all very beautifully, as you've seen in the previous reports. So, standard, we do a letter from me, a letter from Moya, as the Executive Director of the Office of Police Accountability. And then what we've done in all of the reports is provide like history, purpose, explaining the state law. There was a question as to whether or not we should, continue to include this because we've included it in previous reports. I think my perspective is, and of course I'm open to other ideas, is that it's good to include it just because some folks may not look at previous reports. So it just kind of level sets, why are we doing this? Why are we here? But if folks have, thoughts on changing that, certainly let's discuss. So the history and purpose and the state law requirements. Are we good with keeping that in the report? Okay, I don't see anyone's hands up, so we'll go through it, okay? And then this is the PB membership. It just lists all of us in alphabetical order and what our background expertise is. Okay, and that's because the local law required, sorry, Jen, members to have certain expertise in particular subject matters. So when we were all selected to be appointed to be members of the PAB, it was, we were also filling a certain expertise as well. So
My name is always misspelled. It's two E's and one S.
apologies. We will
No worries.
absolutely fix that right now. We're doing it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I feel your pain because I'm Jeanette, one N, two T's. I get a missing E. I get two N's. I get one T. So I understand. We're good on this one. I was misspelled at another meeting I was at earlier today. So I feel your pain. All right. Next section is staff and just a bio of Moya and Jen. And then, so we go through and just give a summary of all of the meetings. So the law requires us to meet at least quarterly, the state law, and that's so that the agencies report out to the PAB on, you know, their data and updates on complaints of alleged police misconduct. As you know, we've also asked the agencies to share other things that they're doing, any compliments that they're getting. We've, you know, our first year met we met like once a month. And then we also had other trainings. So we were just getting started and, you know, in our first full year. But then as we got into sort of a rhythm, we decided that, you know, 8 meetings a year was sufficient for the work that we're doing. So in each quarter, we don't have a meeting the first month of the quarter. So for example, in January, we will not meet, but we'll meet in February and March. April, we don't meet, but we'll meet in May and June and so forth. And so anyway, we try to give a nice, you know, thorough, but not overly detailed summary of what the meetings were. So if you see anything in there that you think we missed, or if you have any thoughts on additions, please let us know.
Yeah, I just put in a quick note. We didn't reference the drone
Oh
presentation
yeah,
from tonight, so I'll make sure we add something in there.
yes, missed that. So good catch. Yep. So we'll put couple sentences or a few sentences about Lieutenant Brandt's presentation this evening. Okay. And then the training and professional development, again, that's just, you know, sharing what it is that we are required to undergo as members of the PAB. And then the complaint process, this explains the complaint process, which is in accordance with state and local law, because as you may recall, state law requires the PAB to share any complaints that we receive from the public of any complaints of alleged police misconduct within 3 business days to the agency. But county law also requires the agencies to share complaints that they receive with us. And so the state law doesn't require that, but our county law does require that. So anyway, all of those things are spelled out here. Yes, Cedric.
Just a quick question. I thought that there was possibly a new legislation from the county saying that the city of Annapolis was in the ride-along protocols that we could now ride along in Annapolis PD. I'm not for sure if that's worthy of putting in here, if that is the case.
Oh, yes, I know that that's something that we had asked, and I know Moya had been looking into whether or not, because the county law only covers the ride-alongs, which is required training that we must complete each year that we're on the board for the county agencies. And so City of Annapolis technically is not a county agency. And so I know they were looking into possibly including Annapolis and the community college, I think, as
That should be all
covered.
5 law enforcement agencies. And I will have to follow up with the director of the government affairs, Ethan, to see if that actually went before the council as of yet.
Thank you so much. So I think that if everyone is okay, and that's something that we can look at when we come back in December, if a change in county law, in fact, has occurred, we will certainly update our report to reflect that, and we'll have a chance to like adopt that additional language. We'll be sure to highlight it for everyone at the December meeting when we adopt the data points. Thank you, Cedric. Okay, so that's that piece. And then we started adding, I think it was last year, information about the administrative charging committee, because even though I think the first year we were like, no, let's keep it separate. There was a lot of confusion in the public around what the PAB's role was and what the ACC's role was. And I think, you know, there were some folks that wanted the PAB to have more of the ACC role, but, you know, we wanted to be very clear about that there's a distinction. But anyway, I think we've done a really good job at clarifying that. And so have the agencies and just us with our communication interactions with community groups in the community and via our meetings. So anyway, we thought it would be useful and helpful to include information on the ACC, the members, and the work that they're doing. And so there are some data points in there, but those will be updated again once the final data is provided. And this has been mentioned before, but I'll mention it again. So like the data, not only, we try to wait until the very last moment to get as much of the data as possible, but we're like November to November versus December or January to December, December to December, because of the way the data is released. So you'll know, and we have a note in the report that says this report is looking at data from like November 2024 through November 2025, et cetera. And then that's how it is each year. We have background here on the trial boards, which I have to say, because I'm always going to give us a shout out. We did a really great job early on and continue to find members of the public to serve on trial boards, because we are responsible for having members, to fill the trial boards in the event that one is called. And so, they go through training and all of that. And we have like a nice solid pool of people. So oftentimes it's folks that may have applied to be on the PAB or ACC and didn't, weren't appointed, but there was, we thought that they would be great trial board members and, would be a great asset and would be able to participate in the process in that manner. So
I just updated that number really quickly. I'm sure you guys saw that from 13 to 11. Two of our trial board members were promoted is the wrong word, but promoted to the ACC.
ACC members, yes, that's how great
So we
they were.
didn't lose them. We just trained them and they
Transfer.
wanted to be more involved.
Yes. Yeah. So if you know folks that are interested in, being on the trial board, let us know. But yes, they've done a really great job, and we were definitely way ahead of the game on every other jurisdiction on that front and other fronts. So kudos to us, because we haven't been scrambling. I see Sean's hand raised.
Yeah, when you go back to the trial board, it talks about 2024. Should that be 2025?
It
That
will
last
be, those
sentence?
are one of those numbers that will all be updated.
Okay, got it.
Once we hit the 11/30 date.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, we will go through and look through all of that, but also when you get the drafts, also look through for us in case we missed anything. But yeah, that will be updated. Thank you. Okay, so what we did is we included the recommendation. So our first report had a whole slew of recommendations, as we've discussed. Some of those have been adopted, some are, and then so what we've done in I think this is our fourth report, right? So report 1, list of recommendations. Report 2, we were like, see report 1 for the list of recommendations. Report 3, it was like, see report 1 for list of recommendations. And also we have some additional recommendations. So some of the previous recommendations are no longer necessary. And so whether, if it was a recommendation for an agency, for example, they've done what they've needed to do to address the recommendation. Or if it was a change in state law, like the 1 year and a day, that law was passed this year. And so what we discussed at a previous meeting, that let's go ahead and list them again and just have them there. So these are the report, the recommendations that we've had, some of them that we've continued to have as a board, and some primarily to the General Assembly. And I think, so as you know, we're required by state law to send the report to the committees with oversight over police accountability in the General Assembly. So we do that. So it's good for them to see this laid out. And then when I send the email, I highlight some of the recommendations as well as, in the event that they don't feel like perusing through an entire report. And also we've been sending it to the Anne Arundel County delegation, our delegation, because some of those members sit on those committees and really care about this issue. So law enforcement data, this gives, information and background and definitions that will be helpful. And there's that note, sorry, Jen, the please note about the November 30 date, just so that the public is aware that this is with the data set time frame. And then these are the previous reports, and this is additional resources for folks. That's the end, Feeny? And that's the end.
That's the end.
So
Yep.
I know we went through that a little bit quickly, but hopefully folks had time to review it, in the days before this meeting. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions regarding the draft 2025 annual report? I see Sean's hand up.
Yeah, I just put a question in the chat and under meetings and things we've done. Do we include the meeting we went to in Baltimore with the other PABs? Do we want to include that?
So. You know what? I was thinking about that and I totally forgot. But yes, I think we did that. And when we hosted a meeting, we included that. So yeah, we can do a little write-up on that under meetings in a separate, it's not like our meeting. But yes, absolutely. We were well represented. Some of you were there in person. I was able to participate for part of the meeting virtually. So yeah, absolutely. And it shows, to the collaboration that's happening around the state between the agencies and folks just, trying to be more aligned and consistent in how we're all interpreting and implementing the law. Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to also add the meeting for tomorrow as well?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you. Yeah, I think that would be good to include as well. Great. Thanks, Sean and Moya.
I'm a horrible typer when everybody's staring at me.
That's okay. Nobody look. Close your eyes. You're like me. That's like me trying to open, when I was a waitress, try to open a bottle of wine. I'm like, don't watch me. I will break it.
Don't watch me. Don't watch me.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? All right. Well, I just want to say thank you again to everyone who provided feedback. Thank you to all of you, even if you didn't provide feedback, because I know you read the report and looked through it. So thank you so much. And a big thanks to Jen and Moya just for all your help in getting it all coordinated and what you're going to be doing to pull all that information together and format it beautifully. So if there's no other questions, comments, any more action items, let's see, how am I going to do this? Is there a motion to adopt the draft 2025 annual report of the Anne Arundel County Police Accountability Board without the data set, which will be adopted at the December meeting? I see Sean's hand up. Is there a second?
So moved.
All right. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Great. Thank you. It's a big deal. I've seen all of the reports. We have a really good report. That's all I have to say. We have a really good report. I know Jen shared links to previous ones. So maybe in 26, when everybody's done their reports, we'll send them out again to look at folks. But ours is very thorough, and I'm really proud of the work that we do. I think it's a really good report, and hopefully somebody is finding it to be helpful and informative. All right, so at the December meeting, as I've already stated, we'll look at this again to incorporate the data. So again, Jen will send that out about a week before that December meeting to ensure, that folks have a chance to look at it. I know that Jen, not Jen Rogers, Jen, PAB ACC member Jen, also had recommendations on how we share the data to be a little bit more nuanced. So we have that, and I know Jen Rogers has been working on that as well. And that's all I have on the reports. And then obviously, like I said, if there's anything substantive that we catch before, we'll do that. But we'll go ahead and, we'll have time to review and look at it again in December. But we will not go through it like as thoroughly as we did tonight, just because, right, we're just looking at the data and then those other couple of additions that we'll add. All right, great, thank you. Okay, so now I have a few announcements, so listen up, please. So some administrative reminders. Please check your emails at least once a week, but try to do it more than that, because I tell you, it's like the Thursday that I don't check it, and then it's like 17 emails. I'm like, oh no. So try to at least check it once a week. If you have any issues logging in, I know some of us have had that at times, contact IT, or if you don't know how to contact IT, Jen can help you with that. Okay, we talked about ride-alongs earlier. Moya will look into whether or not Annapolis Police Department, because I know at least one of you did Annapolis Police Department, and if that can count, that would be great. So if you can just send us an email and let us know what you find out, that would be excellent. But ride-alongs are due by December 31st of this year. So if you have not done so, please schedule time with Anne Arundel County. I guess it's just Anne Arundel County Police Department. I suppose Crofton could do it, right?
The sheriff's office.
Oh, in the sheriff's
That
office.
is county. Yep.
Yes, that is county. And then even if you've already done Anne Arundel, which I think most of us have done, remember they have different districts, and like the northern district and the southern district, and they're all very different, very unique. So, and times of day, days of the week will also impact what your ride may be like. So please go ahead and schedule that. I know that Jen sent us that information. Jen, if you wouldn't mind resending the link to, there's a form. Is there a form that you sent us? There's like a form that we have to fill out. Each of the agencies have their own form. So if you can forward that email to us, much appreciated. Also, we have to do our unconscious bias training. And this is all in accordance with the county law. The county law requires us various training requirements. The ride-along is one of them, the unconscious bias training. You'll be getting an email from Easy Llama. It's an online training. You can do it at your pace. That is also due by no later than December 31st of this year, please. Thank you so much. Okay. If anyone has moved since June, please email Jen your new address so that it can be updated in the system.
That is, of course, if you want to receive your stipend. If you do not want your stipend, let me know,
I'll keep
and I will
it.
make sure it is donated back to the county for their reserves.
I'll take it off your hands. Yes, so please do that ASAP if you have moved. All right, our next meeting is going to be different. Again, November, December is always weird because of the holidays. So Tuesday, December 16th, 6:30. Please mark that on your calendar. We will again adopt the final report with the data and the few changes that we identified this evening. We will also be hearing from the law enforcement agencies. They will be doing their quarterly reports. So Tuesday, December 16th, virtually at 6:30 p.m. And then we do not have a meeting in January, but I will remind you next month. Okay, I think I covered all the things. Let me see, is there anyone that joined us? No attendees for public comment. All right, so we covered that. Anything else? Does anybody have anything they would like to mention, address? All right, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So
I see Brian. All right, and I see the second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. We'll see you all on December 16th. Have a wonderful holiday. Take care.
Have a good one.